Hello everybody, today we're going to take a look at a completely unique game called This War Is Mine. This War Is Mine offers a completely different take on games and war perspective. It's very reminiscent of The Sims in playstyle, but it is much darker, more gritty and real, and really demonstrates the stress of war on the victims of war. 11-Bit is a Polish independent game developer employing about 30 people, and they are made up primarily of people from CD Projekt who made The Witcher, so these guys really know how to make great games. This game is linked to War Child fundraising initiative, which is raising funds to provide support to the most vulnerable children whose lives have been torn apart by war in real life. So on to the game. How does it play? As I said, it plays very much like The Sims. And by that I mean by the way that you control the characters independently of each other, but they're all working to a common goal. The stresses you put on the people that you're playing are really very extreme. They are going to get depressed, they're going to get sad, and sometimes they're going to even break down and be inconsolable and not to be able to be used. You'll find the ethical dilemmas that you face within this game will actually have a real impact on how you feel. The first time you have to steal from an old couple just to be able to feed yourself. The first time you have to kill. The first time one of your people die. All of these have significant impact, not only on yourself but also on the rest of the party within the game. And it gives you pause for thought. The gameplay is just plain compelling. It's very simple, very easy to control, and like all great games, really hard to master. It's incredibly hard to put down, just like any good novel. Forces you to confront the realities of war. It's not some Call of Duty theme park, which is basically fun with guns and blowing people up with no consequence. Here, any action that you partake in, or think of, has real consequences, and can result in the death or debilitation of a member of your party, or the death of an innocent. Something else to think about is that the stories portrayed within the game are real. I remember the first playthrough I did, there was a situation where a girl was being harassed by a man with a gun, and you actually have the chance of saving her from rape and torture and death. Or not. And because of the situation that my character was in, I felt I could not, so I ran away. And that girl died, and as a result of that, the character who did not help her became depressed. This is such a different type of game, it's so hard to classify. I actually think it's a really important game, and it marks a change in the way that games are being developed and are being thought about as a medium. This is a serious game. This isn't some theme park ride. This is something different, something more intense. And I stress again, I think it's really important. Anyway, how the game plays. Gaming is structured into two distinct kind of phases. The first phase is your house building phase, which is where you construct objects to help you, whether that be from beds to stoves to rain filters. And these are the things that are key to your survival. Obviously you need bits and pieces to start with, and when you first start playing the game, you usually have between 2 and 4 characters. I certainly haven't seen any more than that yet. And you control each of those characters independently of each other. And your first task when you're running around your new hideout before the nighttime phase starts is to deconstruct anything, clear rubble, open up wardrobes and chests and things like that, just to make sure that you can get all of the elements out, and then you move on to the next part of that phase, which is the building phase. So you want beds and places to rest and maybe some basic weapons and a shovel to be able to clear rubble and crowbar to be able to pry open doors that are locked. The second phase is actually totally different. It's the scavenging phase, and you get a chance to set up who's guards, who sleeps, who scavenges. That has a real impact on how you play this next phase. Obviously somebody who's naturally faster runner or a natural scavenger, and each of these people have different attributes that help with those in different aspects of the game. You then move around as the scavenger, looking for places to loot, looking for places to find new stuff, and obviously you're going to encounter other people. And this is where the problem comes. Early on in the game, you don't really meet very many people. You find abandoned places that have got just enough stuff in it to keep you going. But later on, as the war lasts longer and longer and longer, the easy picks are less and less and less, and you have to take a higher and higher risk. So whereas at the start of the game you might be going around a completely abandoned property, later in the game you might end up having to go to Sniper's Alley and dodge snipers' bullets as you move from place to place trying to find a little bit of food because your people are starving. So two very distinct phases there. The whole thing, once joined together and once played, will have a lasting impact, not in terms of just a joyful time playing a game, but will leave you realizing perhaps just a little of what people who are civilians within a war zone have to suffer. So I round up my review with this. There are very, very few games that have been released which will have a lasting impact on your memory. This is one of those games. It is unclassifiable in terms of the kind of game that it is, but it is one of the most important games, I believe, has ever been released, and it deserves your attention, and I urge you to buy this, if nothing else, but to make sure that a charity like War Child can get a little bit more money. Thanks for listening.